Bismillah. Alhamdulillah wa salatu wa salamu ala Rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa man wala. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي امري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. It's our pleasure to welcome today Shayma and Sarah to our one of our first series for internet safety and mental health. Today's presentation, please pay close attention. It will open your eyes and your mind to a lot of information that we didn't know in the past. I would like everyone who's here 8 years of age or older. Okay, pay close attention. Pay close attention. Here is a safe space. You can have, after the lecture is presented, you will have a lot of questions being raised between parents and between children. So feel free to come. If you don't want to raise your hand and pick the microphone and let everybody know what your question is, you'll find a QR code on the screen that you can take a picture and the question will come to us anonymously. So if you don't, if you feel shy to ask the question publicly, please don't hesitate. This is a safe place to ask. No question is off the table. No question is off the table from parents and from children alike. So with that, it's my absolute pleasure to welcome our speakers today, dear sisters. Start with who's so it's my pleasure to welcome Shendy. Shimma is a school counselor, professional school counselor for streets, boroughs, cities, Queens. She earned her master's degree, and she has over a decade of experience providing individual and group counseling. She's a member of the Portage County School Crisis Team. She's trained in suicide, suicide assessment and intervention, as well as a trained trainer in trauma informed care. Also, my pleasure to welcome her sister, who has achieved multiple firsts in the state of Ohio, on the state level, on the local level, and on the national level as well. So it's my pleasure to welcome Sergeant Sarah Shendy. She is the first Muslim police officer in Ohio Police Force. She is the first Egyptian police officer in Ohio Police Force. She is the first Muslim Egyptian female police officer in the Ohio Police Force. Achieved a lot of firsts. And I believe the first sergeant also in the force.
In Ohio.
In Ohio. So she has been an officer for over 15 years. She has achieved state, local, state, and national recognition. Her areas of passion include mental health, communication and leadership, working with and younger folks, juveniles. In addition to being a police officer, she has served as the director of the Office of Law Enforcement Recruitment for the state of Ohio, and the inaugural director of freshman recruitment. She's currently a sergeant at Case Western Reserve University. She comes with a lot of experience in the police force, working with all people from all walks of life. It's our pleasure to have them here. It's our personally, I take pride of having two Egyptians joining me in the same podium and present as well. With no further ado, I'll give them.
Thank you.
Absolutely, I'll give the microphone to Shayma. Start first, and then we can get started.
Starts many. I'll just say that all times I know it's just how many is an older headphones? You can raise your hand. Like really blind. Okay. And how many of you third seen on social media? And that is Facebook, Twitter, Snapchat. So that's all. Photo. So that means you are. That's okay. She's not enough. Okay, so that's not enough. Public school, I work when the fourth and fifth grade come in, I think about 45% of fourth and fifth graders have phone, and a good 67% of them are on social media, which means they're all doing things a little too. So. Working with this point. All right, good evening, everybody. While we work on getting the PowerPoint up for you, I'm here to talk to you about like the law enforcement side of things. And I'm going to tell you the same thing I tell other people. I don't care if you get in trouble or not. I don't, because if you get in trouble, you're going to go to court, your parents are going to pay a fine, you're going to get grounded, you're going to get your car, phone taken away, whatever. And life goes on, right? Nothing earth shattering is going to happen. What I care about is your safety. Because the best police officer, the best doctor, the best judge, the best parent in the world cannot undo any harm or trauma that you may experience from making bad decisions. Okay. So a lot of times we deal with people, they're always like, am I in trouble? Am I going to get in trouble? I want you to understand that you getting in trouble is not our top priority. Your safety is our top priority. And like we mentioned earlier, if you have a question and you don't feel like asking the question publicly, please do ask us in private or via utilizing the QR code. Like was mentioned earlier, I've been in uniform for over 15 years. And what I want you to remember throughout this conversation and when you leave the room is your men and women, young and old, your number one line of defense in terms of safety is your decision making. Okay. So I work on a college campus. Before working on a college campus, I worked in a township of 22 square miles, 20,000 people. And people always came up to me and asked me certain questions like, I want to get a CCW. I want to carry a taser. I want to carry pepper spray. I want to do A, B, and C. And my personal opinion about that stuff is don't do it because you're not going to be an expert at that things. And unfortunately, a lot of times those weapons, you're going to get disarmed and it's going to be used against you. So they're like, oh, so should we just, adopt a victim mentality and become victims of crime? And I say, absolutely not. The number one thing that protects you is your decision making. I cannot stress that enough. I don't care if you're 8 years old, if you're 20, 30, 40, 80 years old. Please remember that you are free to make whatever decisions you want to make, but you're not free from the consequences of your decisions. So I hope you learned something from today's presentation. We're going to give you a lot about social media, mental health, and also the legal side of things. Okay, and we're just going to go from the PowerPoint here. Okay, so the new age, which I really don't call new age because it's been like 23 maybe years of cell phones, computers, laptops, tablets. Kids nowadays are usually either bring your own computer or a laptop. It's a very good resource for teachers in school because they do have great websites on there, but there's also dangers on there outside of like the educational part. The number one thing that I think is the most important thing when it comes to internet safety is communication between parent and child. Sonny's not here today. I picked on him the last time I did this presentation. He just turned 18 a couple of months ago, but I tried really hard to be an open communicator with him. I am like a freaker out on most occasions, and I try to like shake it back when he tells me something. I'm like, okay, give me a second. Go to my room, try to do deep breathing. Because sometimes, like kids, their prefrontal cortex is not, and until you talk about you're 25 when you truly can make executive decisions and truly make the right decision. So he would tell me certain things happen, be like, hey, babe, let's figure this out. He did not, because this is nothing against any other, but I'm an extremely active parent, and my husband is a tech. So he is on top of anything and everything that is technology in your house. The computer, DVDs turn off at a specific time, internet from the modem is controlled. There's absolutely, anybody here take a cell phone to their bedroom? Sleep with a cell phone next to them? Children, oh, adults are bed. You need your sleep, I know. Because I'm not. Probably 10-year-olds and up, their parents, some parents allow them to just put your cell phone on silent. You cannot put their cell phone on silent. They're going in their bedrooms and they're probably gonna scroll maybe Instagram, TikTok. And it doesn't necessarily. But there's a lot of, I guess, bad things that could being on. So, oh, should we get it? Okay. Next. We go from slide. How do you go?
So if I'm doing it, I still might turn out.
No,
There is a lag between.
I mean, most of it. Most of it. Research and science says 25. Girls mature faster, but definitely your brain is more mature. So I'm sorry, the slide before that, it just want to be asked. So when like the where, what, who, why, when, those get asked, before maybe not them. I have a list and all their phone numbers and at least one of their parents. Usually the mom, I have a couple of dads just because we know each other. He's on my left, which is an pretty much tracks where the individual is. It also tracks the speed because I definitely need to keep an eye on that. But as parents, we have to ask our kids questions like, oh, you're on your phone all the time. What apps are you on? Who are you talking to? And make sure that they're not talking to anybody that they don't know. I think when Faded was like 15, I got I got him a flip phone. Yeah. So if you have a nice electronic that is like iPhone. To like social media and the social world until I had to like, what is your favorite app? Who are you friends with? Just keeping that open conversation is like kids, when they get interested in what they're doing, they're more apt to come and ask. Both I think but they had a great run to hold on it, and I just I think further not have any not any part but they want to come on someone. Said hi, like absolutely not, we don't talk to her, just walk away and go play on the other side. I don't let them take their eyes. Don't let, before Faded was 16-ish, I never let him take his phone from the room. If he's playing a game, his door's open, I can see things, so there have to be, I mean, they're so they should be under their control. If you're paying, they're also your items. That's good.
All right, I'm gonna put the microphone down because I feel like it's too loud for the room. Is that okay for you guys? And if our friends online, if you can't hear us, please let us know. So I just wanted to echo some things that Shimma said. It doesn't matter if your kid is 8 or 18 or 28. If they live in your house, they have to abide by your rules. That's period, no questions, nothing. They can threaten you to call the police, call the grandma, call whoever. We're going to show up and we're going to tell them that if they're living in your house, they have to abide by it. If your rule is when you come in the front door, you have to pound out 10 push-ups, they have to pound out 10 push-ups because those are your rules. So don't let your kids, because I know in our culture, sometimes like young men and women stay home until they're married or move away for school or college. And the one thing that I see as a big problem in law enforcement is that parents don't have, I hate to use the word control, but they don't have control of their kids early on in life. And then when they're 17 and 18 and completely out of control, they call us and they expect us to fix things overnight, and we can't do that. So to the kids in the room and the young adults, I just want to tell you that like Every single thing that your parents are doing for you right now is to protect your future. You're not going to see it. When Shaymet was talking earlier about your brain, like right here, the frontal cortex, that's responsible for your decision making and your impulse. Okay. So we just had a girl, an 18-year-old girl, steal a car, which we get cars stolen every day. But the unique thing about her situation is she was like, the keys were there. And I'm like, so you stole this car because the keys were there? And she's like, yeah, it was tempting. And I was like, I've been tempted by cookies, not by felony car theft. So like, we can't relate. We're on two different pages here. So as young adults and as like the kids in the room, like, I want you to understand that, like, even though your parents may come across like controlling, they don't let you do certain things. I don't have kids. If I had kids, I would chain them to a fixed piece in the house and they would never, ever, ever leave my side, because I have been in uniform for 15 years and I know exactly what happens in the outside world, even if you do everything right as a parent. It is extremely scary. I refuse to bring a child into this world, and that's just me. I have my nieces and nephews and I consider them my kids, but you guys as young kids, you don't understand what's going on out there at all. You have no idea. It's not like what you see on TV. It's not like what you see on crime shows. I don't want you to think like, oh, I live in Beachwood or Chagrin. It doesn't matter where you live. Crime is everywhere and there are bad people. Just like you're good at your job, I'm good at my job, she's good at her job. Their job is to go out and victimize other people. And just please give your parents a little bit of grace, because I didn't appreciate anything that my parents did for me until I hit like my 30s. Talk about late maturity. And until I became, when I became a police officer, it was the first time that I really appreciated not just my parents, but my religion. Like, you guys have absolutely no idea how much Islam protects you and what it protects you from. And I hope that you begin to appreciate your religion earlier on in life than I did, because I have to say, 27 or 28, I began to be like, oh my God, I'm so lucky that I was born Muslim. I'm so lucky that my parents never put me in a position that these parents are putting their kids in. I'm so lucky that my parents weren't drinking and doing drugs and bringing people into the house and doing all this stuff. So when your parents do something to like upset you or anger you, instead of having a knee-jerk reaction of saying like, my parents are too strict, they're not fair, I hate being Muslim, I hate being Arab, I hate being whatever. Believe me that 10 years from now, 15, 20 years from now, you're going to appreciate every single thing that your parents did. Today, I was at work. That's why I was kind of running late. I was at work from 7 to 5 because we had the students move in to case to the dorms. And the whole time I'm thinking, this is a terrible idea. You have these 18, 19, 20, 21-year-olds that are moving into dorms, and girls on one side, boys on one side, or like an all boy dorm. And like it's terrible. I think personally that that's too early for you to be on your own. On top of that, they don't have what we have. They don't have, like, in terms of religion, like, we have things that we do and don't do because of Islam and because of our culture. They don't have that. So imagine the type of stuff that they get into. And like I said, I don't care if they get in trouble. I care about you getting hurt. And something else that Shaymat mentioned, I want to tell you guys this, okay? You never, ever, ever, ever know who you're talking to online. You don't. And I can sit here until next Tuesday and tell you horror stories of things that have happened in Northeast Ohio, of kids and adults talking to people online that they thought were the person that they were speaking to. And it turned out to be somebody completely different from who they thought they were. And everything happened from them sending them money, people showing up to their house, people showing up to school to try to pick up their kids. Like, you name it, it has happened. So when you, like, on Instagram, like, I have an Instagram, and when I made national and international news, like, people would try to add me. No, I don't care who you are. I don't care what film producer you are. I'm not here for followers. I'm not going to add you, because when you add somebody, you're giving them an inside look to your life. They now know where you go to school, where you shop, where you work out. They know what your parents look like. We did this exercise at the Attorney General's office when I worked with the Attorney General's office and kids, and I had them send me a picture, just a picture that you take, and I was able to pull up their IP address, their location. Like, we could pull up, like, public record search. We can pull up 500 separate pieces of information just from your social media. And that's not good. I don't want you to strive for followers online. That is a dangerous game to play. It is terrible because you can have a stalker out there, that you can have someone that hates Muslims, you can have someone that hates Muslim women, and it can just, you're giving somebody a camera into your life. Like, here's my mom, here's my dad, this is what we drive, this is what we eat. Why would you want to give that to a complete stranger that may potentially want to harm you? So I encourage you, like tonight at some point, go through your social media, Facebook, Instagram, erase every single person that you don't know personally. Like when people add me on Instagram, I look at how many people we have in common, and then I look at them some more. And then if it's not somebody that I know or that I have met, I don't add them. And I'm a police officer. Like I don't worry about my safety as much because I carry a weapon 24/7 and I know how to use it. But at the same point, I don't say that like, oh, I've been a police officer for 15 years. Like they're not going to harm me. No, I'm still a woman. And if someone finds out where I live and they wanted to harm me and they can't get to me, they're going to go to my family. So go through your social media, erase every single person that you don't know, because it is extremely, extremely, extremely dangerous. And like I said, if we had more time, I would love to share some horror stories with you to put this in perspective of things that have happened to very educated people, like your parents' age, younger, and it happens to everybody. And it just starts by you hitting that accept button, and it's not a good place to be.
So our next slide is not up there.
It's okay, just okay.
It's pretty much talking about like online risks that kids, adults, teens face on a regular basis. I put them as bullet points and then break them down later, but inappropriate content, your child, if they have a tablet phone, if they have access to the internet, I promise you your child has seen inappropriate content. Even my 6 and 7-year-old who have kids YouTube have seen inappropriate content on kids tube, because people will put like Peppa Pig in there and all of a sudden there's someone that's like not fully dressed or something. If they have TikTok, YouTube, if you're on YouTube, which I know probably every single kid in here is, especially the boys, because I know the boys probably follow gamers. My son used to follow gamers all the time, but YouTube is a very, 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 very dangerous video streaming app just because of the content in it. So if you do allow your son or daughter to be on YouTube, make sure that when you go home today, you go into settings, like you have to create a profile, but you have to go into settings and make sure that anything like 13. There is good and bad to having things, but if you're so young, it's very hard for them to navigate it like emotionally with like bullying or things that they see psychologically, socially. But inappropriate content is out there in every social media platform, in any platform on the internet in general. Your online privacy, just like she was saying, the minute you log into something or make a profile somewhere, your privacy is out there. And if somebody wants to hack into it, like she said, that's their job. They will go out to find out who you are. Online exploitation, there's something called enticement or sextortion. And that's when like someone that's really, really evil, they groom a kid, which means slowly befriend a child, saying that they're whatever. Usually they'll be like, how old are you? 14. Oh, magically I'm 14 or I'm 15. And they'll slowly build a relationship with you. And if usually like if it's a boy on the chat, they'll say that they're a girl. If they're a girl, they'll say they're a boy. Everyone wants good attention. It's just there's ways of getting it, or everyone wants to feel loved or attractive or whatnot, but this is just not the right way to do it. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Streetsboro. It's probably 2 cities down from here. We had a senior die last year by suicide. One of my son's friends, he was 17. His mom had just gotten his senior picture the day after he committed suicide, because within 24 hours, 21 hours, he had met someone on Snapchat, moved the conversation from Snapchat. Now, the person said they were a 17-year-old girl. It ended up being a male from Algeria. No, not Algeria, another country in Africa. Nigeria. It was a Nigerian, because the FBI came to Streetsboro to kind of like see what was going on. And within 21 hours, this person talked nice for a while as a 17-year-old girl, sent a fake inappropriate picture to him and told him like, hey, do you want to chat? He did not send an inappropriate picture to this person, but he did video chat and maybe made a mistake of doing something on there. But the person screen recorded or screen grabbed what James, his name is James Wood. His parents have the Do It for James Foundation. If you guys want to look into it, that's a lot of education about sextortion. And then as soon as they got that video, they said, if you don't send us money, we're going to, I hacked into your Insta and your Snap. If you don't send us money, we're going to like disseminate all this information. I know you live in Streetsboro. I know you're in Streetsboro. All your teachers are going to know. And so as a 17-year-old boy, he got really, really, really scared and just did not think that going to his parents was the right thing, because these kids would rather jump into lava, like molten lava, than tell their parents they did something wrong. So that's why I say open communication is really, really important. Like I tell Khaled what I want to hear, but I'm like, if you murdered somebody, could you let me know so we can figure it out? Like in the end, I'm your parent. I have to support you in some way. Whatever it is that you did wrong, it's not worth it. Like his parents went out to dinner and they did, so in the morning on Saturday, they actually went to a college visit. I mean, his mom took him and looked at dorms and colleges and admissions, came in the afternoon, came home. His parents went for their usual like dinner and bowling with a group of friends and came home to him dead in the basement. And the police and the FBI went through his phone and there were hundreds upon hundreds. He was bombarded, a 17-year-old kid that cannot think outside of what I just did and the ramifications of what could happen. He ended up just taking his own life. And because it went, it became national news, but because of it, we had 4 other kids targeted in Streetsboro that had the same exact thing happen to them. And thankfully, because they knew of what happened to James, they did not end the way James did, but they all were extorted. So please do not befriend anybody. And I also have a 4th grader last year in my building. She's 11. She was talking to a 12-year-old boy. I went to work that day. Her dad left me a message. I called him back and he's like, Shendy, I saw her phone was open this morning. I saw a conversation between her and his boy. Could you please talk to her? I usually don't do like, that's a you thing, but not a problem, because I know he's a single dad. So I was planning on talking to her. I went to my office and I had 2 police officers standing on my door. And I'm like, what are you guys doing here? It's never good when I see 2 officers at my door. And he said, hey, do you have this student here? And I'm like, oh yeah, her dad, I just talked to him. And they're like, well, her dad ended up coming to the police station. He gave us her phone. We went through it and we found some more stuff out. So I'm like, okay. He's like, can you go get her? No problem. I went and got her and I was like, hey, what's going on? She definitely was scared because there's 2 police officers in front of her. But they're not here to do anything. They're just here to give us some information that they found out. So my understanding is you're talking to someone online. Yeah. Where? Snapchat. Okay. What's going on? Like, how do you know this person? I don't. It's just a boy. I'm like, okay, so it's just a boy. You're talking to him. It wasn't anything inappropriate, but she was talking about like self-harm, like not liking life. So that's really what triggered the conversation. And so I was like, okay, well, let's see what these officers have to say. And the police officers put a 12-page document in front of me and her. And he said, this is who you've been talking to. And it was a 33-year-old man, is what I'm going to call it, that has a 12-page rap sheet. So not because they tell you they're your age means they're your age. They're usually not. Predators, like if I told you, hey, there's a predator at the park, would you send your kid there? You wouldn't. But predators know exactly where your kids go. So that's their job. Like, oh, kids are on TikTok, I'm on TikTok. Kids are on Instagram, I'm on Instagram. As this girl, as a beautiful boy, a beautiful girl, their job is to make sure they make some kind of relationship and to hurt or victimize you, either financially, physically, in whatever way. So like, make sure that you guys honestly do not. I know Khaled, when he was 16 and he was allowed to have social media, he had like 2,000 friends. I'm like, I don't have, and I've been alive twice your age. You want 5,000. So like, do make sure that you I know you want to be cool and cool parents, it's not that they're doing it. Nothing, like that's how kids measure in school how popular they are, or how cool they are, how many likes they get on pictures of Instagram, app that they have, how many likes, how many comments, that's how popular this kid is. But I'm telling you, it's not working. Thank you.
So a couple things. Number one, just understand that it's okay to be exclusive. Okay. Like it's okay for people not to know everything about you. That's cool. And that is very attractive for men and women. If everybody has access to you, that's not something that's good. So it's okay to be exclusive. And I would encourage you guys to limit. And like I said, everything I'm saying is not just to the kids in the room, it's to the adults as well. It's okay to limit people's access to you. Like if you look on the last 15, 20 years of my life, you're going to see the same 10, 12 people around me. I am extremely selective with who I let in my house, in my car, and around my family. I've had the same group of friends for the last 15, 20 years. And I know a lot of people, I know hundreds, I have over 1,000 numbers in my phone. It doesn't matter. I hang around the same 12 people. You can call me bougie, you can call me high maintenance, you can call me arrogant, you can call me whatever you want to call me. I call it having high standards, because your energy and your reputation is going to impact my energy and my reputation. And if we're not on the same page, we're not going to be hanging out. So it's okay to be exclusive. Secondly, I want you guys to remember this for the rest of your life. Okay. Everybody remember this for the rest of your life. Nothing that you put online can be deleted forever. I don't care if you delete it. I don't care if you burn your computer. I don't care if you delete your browser history. We can retrieve it. We have access to it. I don't care if you get a certified letter in the mail saying it has not been deleted. Okay, so
Deleted. Do you
from
hear that?
Snapchat, things from
Nothing,
Instagram,
ever.
things that disappear after 10 seconds, 30 seconds, we can get it. That's not a problem. It's a letter of preservation that we send to the company, and it's a subpoena, and it's a matter of making phone calls and sending emails, and we can get exactly what you posted. Thirdly, this is a super interesting fact in medicine, education, and law enforcement. The number one thing that rules people out of when you apply for a job, social media. That's it. The very first thing, if you want to go into medicine, education, or law enforcement, just those three fields, and they search your name or they search your alias name, and they look at your lifestyle and the things that you're posting. They don't just look at that, depending on like your job, like especially if you're going into law enforcement or medicine or education, because you're working with people. They look at you and they look at your 15 friends. Like, for example, there's a software out there that a lot of people use, not just in law enforcement, where I can run your phone number and I can figure out the 15 people that you speak to the most. And then I'm going to look at those people, and I'm going to look at their reputation, and I'm going to look at their lifestyle, because you have to understand that, like, when you guys get older and you get hired in by an agency, you are an arm of that agency. Like, you are a representative of that agency. So if you are a liability, they're not going to want to hire you. So that is the number one thing that takes people out of the applicant pool, is just their social media. And I always hear kids saying that, like, in terms of like violent threats of suicide, people always chat on Snapchat because they don't want record of it. Nothing at all, nothing that you post online is deleted forever. Nothing. I don't care what they tell you. I don't care what your IT teacher in your high school says. We always have the ability to retrieve things that were posted online. And I tell you that the story that Shimma shared about James. Why did he do that? You know, we'll never know. And it's extremely sad. But when we tell you guys that you're impulsive at your age, that's what we mean. He's 17 years old. He panicked. And his solution was, I'm going to take my own life because I don't want to deal with my parents, the embarrassment, the community. You guys are going to make mistakes in life. Okay, you're going to make a lot of mistakes. Develop that trust with your parents and understand that your parents may not be raised the same way that they're raising you now. And like our parents, like they never talk to us about anything at all. Like nothing, zero. Okay. We're learning things today about our childhood that we never knew before, which is super cool. But it's okay. Sometimes you, as a child or a teenager or a young adult, it's okay for you to go up to your mom and be like, hey, mom, such and such happened in school today, and I just wanted to tell you about it. It's okay to do that. Don't always expect the conversation to come from your parents. Being a parent is very hard, and you have yourself to worry about. Your parents have everybody else to worry about. Just think about that, okay? Like, I'm on the struggle bus every day, and I go home to me, myself, and I can't stand myself some days, let alone being married with kids. And after you go home, you have to worry about like feeding the kids and your spouse and laundry and all this other stuff. So as a child right now, you guys are living your best life. Like, your responsibilities are very low, and it is okay. And I encourage you to, have a couple goals with your parents, and one of them being communication. Please develop like good, healthy communication with your parents, especially dads, because dads don't like to talk. Okay. Sometimes we have to like really encourage them into the conversation. But please, just as we talk about all these things, I want you guys to develop like small goals of things that you're going to do differently when you leave here today. Being that far really has to do with your safety. Okay.
This slide, don't go through all of it, but it pretty much says that make sure that if your child is on a device, electronic device of some sort, that, and it's a social media of some kind, that they are only friends with people they have physically seen at school, and not friends with Tommy and Madison from California. I don't know. Also, if you have Instagram or TikTok or not, make sure that you go into your privacy setting and turn off your geolocation. So that right there, if I befriend somebody that says they're 17 and they're 50 and they really would just want to find out where I'm at so they can kidnap me, because human trafficking is high and on the rise. All they have to do is like, oh yeah, we're friends on Snapchat. Let me see where her geolocation is. That is a literal map with the exact location of where you're at, and they could easily find you. And geolocation is on every single app we use. So make sure that not just in the phone settings. I know the iPhones have geolocation that you can turn off, but every single app will also ask you at the beginning. And since you guys, some of you are not 13 and you lie to get on your app, I highly doubt that you went in your settings and fixed your geolocation. So make sure you turn that off. That way, no one ever knows where you're at, because that's, like I said, if they want to find you, they'll find you. And then if anything happens online, privacy wise, reporting your content or blocking people. If somebody says mean things, or somebody on Snapchat sent you a snap that's inappropriate and you're like, oh my God, what is happening? You can easily take that person off of your snap. Some of the stuff that's online privacy wise. So your Facebook, for example, I know someone told me Facebook is for old people, so I'm considered old people. But so like the circle that you have, that's like sometimes, which is your actual profile picture. Sure, you can put yourself not as kids, but like as adults, because you're not supposed to be on there if you're less than 13 anyway. But the background picture, even if you're, so no one can find me on Facebook because I'm on a different name, and you have to ask me and I'll add you. But if somebody looks you up and your privacy isn't set to like, no one adds me or just friends, they can see your entire family. If you have a cute family reunion picture, and if they want to know like, oh, you know, I would like to victimize this family or people in this family, they can easily find you. And then some of the cool kids nowadays, they'll add, let's say on their TikTok account or on their Instagram, under their Instagram handle, they'll put like, oh, you can also find me here, here, and here. Here's all my handles, so you can be friends with me on all that. That's a very easy way for somebody to make you a target, because they can really get to know. Like she said, when you allow people into your different social medias, that is a window into your home. Take a picture at home and put it up there. A person could easily look and see what you have on the background. Oh, a Streetsboro rocket. I know this person's from Streetsboro, or whatever you may have on the background. They make it their job to find you. And alhamdulillah, I have not personally heard of anyone in our communities that has been targeted to the point where like they have been abducted or victimized in that sense, but I definitely know of people on the news and whatnot. So please make sure that you don't put anything personalized. Also, like a cool thing at my school is sharing your profile, like password and login with your best friends. Don't do that. They're not going to be your best friends forever. And once they turn an enemy, if they have your information, your whole thing is gone. They can take pictures. They can share pictures with other people. Do not share any. I had a 5th grader that met somebody online again. This was a couple years ago. And it was a 39-year-old man. She gave him the address, the telephone number. My parents were to go out to dinner on this day. I don't know what she was thinking, but thankfully her parents decided to switch plans and they were home and ended up calling the cops and the guy got arrested. It does happen. And also I understand that you have like I'm invincible. Nothing will ever happen to me because my 18-year-old, again, not formed, up there says the same exact thing. Haley, please don't speed. Mom, I'm never going to get into a car accident. Well, there's a possibility. Or please don't go to, I don't know, not very safe places. Nothing's going to happen to me. Things could happen. There's a risk. And if there's a risk, why do it? If I tell you like, if you drink this, you might die. Would you drink it? No. So if I tell you, if you add certain people that you don't know, like they may be bad people, would you add them? The answer should be no as well.
So a couple other things, this is like not extremely social media related, but I have to mention it because I've seen kids and adults do this. Okay. Do not, yes. Okay, good. Do not ever open the door if you're not expecting somebody, okay? And I know you guys were like, "Duh." Okay, not duh, because people do it. Like we're having this conversation for a reason. Me, I have cameras all in my, like all of our houses are cameras inside and out. If somebody comes and knocks at my door and I'm home, I'm just like, hey, like whatever, dropping off a package, drop it off at the front door. I do not open the door to anybody that I'm not expecting. I've never met the people that plow my snow in the winter. I've never met people that cut my grass in the summer. I pay them via an app. I don't need to meet them. They don't need to know what I look like. I don't say hi to the mailman. I'm very private. I'm very exclusive. Some of you guys, young and old, the second somebody knocks at your door, you run to the door and open it. Don't do that. Get rid of that bad habit. Like even like when we order pizza, it's awesome. Like COVID gave us some sweet things. They leave the pizza on the front door and they leave. They no longer make contact with you. Please, please, please do not open the door to anybody if you're not expecting visitors. Okay. And people in this area have gotten so creative that like they'll knock at your door hysterically bleeding, saying like, "Oh, I just got in a car accident. You don't need to come inside my house. I will call the police for you." And just do not open the door, because the second you open the door, you have just removed that protective barrier between you and the outside world. And you're going to have 5 people running in your house and God forbid, whatever else happens from there. Do not open the door if you're not expecting visitors. And I tell you guys this because like my parents, like when they go anywhere, I'm like, don't talk to strangers. Why do I tell them that? Because they talk to strangers and they're like in their 60s and 70s. And I'm like, don't talk to strangers. This is safety town conversation that we're having here. Don't talk to strangers and don't open the door. And I'm being serious, like saying hi and bye in a conversation is very different than you engaging in conversation with people. And also for the young people in the room that like are driving or gonna start driving, please be selective with who you let in your car. Okay. So, and I'll just tell you like a quick story of something that happened when I was at my other agency. We stopped this car for speed, going 47 and a 35, no big deal. I wasn't going to cite her. She had 3 other people in the car. She had a full ride scholarship to Kent State University for nursing. She was a straight A student from Copley High School, never been in trouble. I knew who she was, knew the family. And then things happened and we found 2 guns and cocaine in the car. Okay. And because nobody's going to be like, "Oh, cocaine. Yeah, that's mine." Nobody's going to do that. So we ended up arresting all 4 people in the car. She lost her full ride scholarship. And now her name is listed on a police report involving guns and drugs. Be very, very, very selective with the people you hang out with. Right. Like now, like in school and in college and for the rest of your life, because something can happen and you could be at the wrong place at the wrong time and it can just ruin your life, even though you did nothing wrong. Right. And that's like one of the things that has really scarred me in law enforcement when we talk about parenting, is like how many doors I've had to knock on at 3 a.m. to tell a parent that their child was dead. Your child was at a sleepover in a car at 3 a.m. There were bullets flying. Your kid got hit and your kid's not coming home. Call the Summit County Coroner's Office in the morning. And I don't deliver it in such a cruel manner, but I'm telling you, when your parents tell you to be home by 10, you can ask my family. On the days that I'm off, I'm inside my house by 10 o'clock. Nothing good happens on the streets after 10 o'clock. Nothing. I don't care if you live in Beechwood. I don't care if you live in a $500,000 home. Nothing good happens on the streets at 10 o'clock. I worked night shift for 8 years and we were so busy and I had an arrest every single night. People are drinking and driving. People are smoking and driving. People are transporting drugs and guns. If people carry drugs, they're carrying guns. Just know that the two go together. And these are things that are happening in your community and on your streets. So like when you say like, oh, like Khaled, he asked to go to Florida. I wanted him to go get a CAT scan. I'm like, is your head okay? Because we're not those people. Like you're confused. And he's like, oh, I'm 18. I'm like, sit down somewhere. Like, and I had to remind him of who we were. So when you guys ask your parents, like, oh, can I go for a sleepover? I had a badge and a gun at 21, and my parents still would not let me go spend the night out. And I was just like, I don't have to ask you anyways. I could do what I want. And I didn't, out of respect, you know? But like the things that we are mandated to do or not do religiously and culturally are there to protect you. So when your parent says, no, you can't go to the after prom dance or whatever they're doing till 3 a.m, or no, you can't go at a sleepover, or no, you can't go to DC or whatever, understand that they're doing it to protect you. Again, I did not like that when I was a young adult growing up. Like we were never allowed to spend the night out. As a police officer, again, if I had kids, they would never leave my side because your parents are trying to protect you and you guys don't understand that. You think that they're being controlling, you think that they're being strict, you think that they're being whatever, when in all reality, they don't want to see anything bad happen to you. And it's very, very, very hard to understand at your age. But I'm telling you, when you are home, you're safe. When you're not home, we can't guarantee your safety. We have absolutely no idea what's going on. And I can tell you, like the time where I really came to appreciate my religion is dealing with things that have happened to kids during sleepovers when there are other people's homes. It's terrible and it's traumatic and it's something that changes the course of that child's life forever. So please, again, I cannot stress this enough. If you take nothing away from today, understand that your parents are just trying to protect you. They're not being strict. They're not trying to ruin your life. And it's okay if you don't understand where they're coming from right now. Just know that you're going to appreciate it later on in life. And just stay home after 10 o'clock. If it was me, 9 o'clock, just nothing good happens. And like, I have to say this before I forget, with permission of your parents, for the kids in the room and online, get permission from your parents to just like start watching the news every day. Okay. Because I want you guys to get like an idea of the things that go on around you. Like I always watch the news sometimes. Like especially if stuff that's going on in Akron, because I used to live there. But like I want you guys to start watching the news, and I want you to just take a mental note of how many things are related to drugs, alcohol, and guns and crime, because it's going to be 90% of the news. And that's within your zip code, that's within your area code. So in law enforcement, we have a quote that says complacency kills. So once we're complacent, like as a police officer, if I'm complacent, that means like relaxed and like I don't think anything bad can ever happen to me. That's something that can get me killed. You guys are complacent, and it's not just you as adults. I'm saying, like, I always tell people that like if you guys, like the civilian population, if you knew what we know as law enforcement, you'd never leave your house and you'd never have kids. You wouldn't. Because you are trapped in like an awesome bubble of like life is awesome and it's safe and I'm going to run to Target and then I'm going to go to Starbucks and then I'm going to go to the gym, and like there's like 1,000 bad things happening in the background that you don't see. And a lot of times it's because we do such a good job enforcing the laws and being deterring crime. But the world is not a pretty place. It's not. It can be. And it's really pretty inside your home, and it's really pretty within your family, and it's really pretty in here because we're all here for each other, and we all have like a common goal and a common understanding, and we abide by the same rules, and we have like so many things to govern us, like your parents, your neighbor's parents, the Quran, Hadith, so many things. Outside of that, that's not how people operate. There is no rules on the streets. So nobody's going to care that you're a pretty 19-year-old girl or that you're a successful 16-year-old athlete. Nobody cares about that. The only people that really care about you are your parents and your family and your community. So be understanding when your parents tell you that you can't do certain things, because all they're trying to do is protect you and prevent harm from taking place. Okay. The worst things, like Every time I tell somebody I'm a police officer, they're like, oh, what's the worst call? What's this? And the worst things you ask any officer out there that you encounter is that at 4 a.m, like, sir, before we say anything, they know one of their kids is not coming home. They know because you have 3 officers standing at your door at 3 a.m. And the thing that sucks is they did nothing wrong. They did, as parents, they did everything right. The kid, they did everything right. They were just at the wrong place at the wrong time. So please be understanding of your parents and their rules, because the second you step foot outside of your home, all bets are off. You're not as safe as you were inside your house and inside with your parents' care and their protection.
And going off of that, also, like, when your parents, as you grow, when you show your parents that you're responsible, you get more freedom. If you tell your parents, I'm going here, please make sure that you do go there, because I have known also kids and stories of kids that, oh, I'm going to so-and-so's house, but then I end up going somewhere else. And again, echoing sort of like sleepovers. I don't do that. My son is 18. He's begged and pleaded, and I will never allow him to sleep over. He can have people sleep over our house. My kids will never see a friend, the inside of a friend's house without me, because I know 2 kids from my own community that were assaulted by friends of the family. So it's not always like stranger danger. Like, as parents, you also can't be complacent with any and everybody that you just know. You have to make sure that, like, you are truly entrusting your kids' physical and safe being with a trusted adult. So, like, I personally would not recommend sending your son or your daughter nowadays, and not just your daughter, but your son as well, anywhere without you being present. Regardless of who the person is, the safest place for them is your own home. So, I'm going to like skim through these. So, like, mental health, this just says that, like, just like you guys go to the doctor for like your organs, making sure that they're functioning well, you're also going to need, like, mental health is as important, I guess, as your physical health. It's going to change how you think. So if I'm in a bad mood, it's going to change my thoughts. It's going to change how I feel about things, and it's definitely going to change how I act. I tell my son, you can't go somewhere after 10 o'clock. He's in a bad mood. He's in his room and he doesn't want to talk to me for like 3 days. That's fine. But it also is very helpful to know, like, where you're at mental health wise. It helps determine, like, our stress level, how we're coping with people. Okay, it's in the other slide.
Yeah, and I want to tell you guys this too, like, subhanAllah, every single thought that crosses your mind, so 52,000 thoughts a day for the average person. Every single thought, whether you're awake or sleeping. Have you guys ever had like a bad dream and you wake up in a bad mood? Or you have a good dream and you wake up in a good mood? It's because your mind can't decipher the difference between sleep and reality. And every single thought that goes through your mind is associated with a chemical release. So if you're always thinking bad, like, this is super sad, but like the average life expectancy for a police officer today is 67 years old, which is crazy because my lieutenant from my other agency, who was like a father figure to me, died at 67. And why is that? It's because we experience so much stress, like for an average human being, like you guys, unfortunately, will experience 3 to 5 critical incidents in your lifetime. Okay. For a police officer at the end of our career, we experience anywhere between 400 and 600. So the chemical release that we're talking about, like the cortisol, that causes, like, don't stress your parents out, because stress can really kill. And we hear that growing up, like, oh, stress kills. Stress can absolutely make someone sick and impact their longevity, and it can cause them like an early death. So just think about it, like, every single thought that goes through your mind is directly associated with a chemical release. So if you think something bad, depressing, automatic cortisol. It's just like an IV, like drip, drip, drip cortisol. And cortisol is really, really bad for you. It causes weight gain. It messes with your memory. It makes you more likely to like succumb to addiction. It's super, super bad. All the good thoughts release other chemicals in your body that are that make you happy, like serotonin, dopamine, all this other good stuff. So everything that you're thinking, regardless if you're saying it or not, like, it matters to your mental health as well as your physical health. Keep that in mind.
We can skim this slide. It just says that it changes from time to time, day to day, depending on what happens. Your mental health affects the way we think, feel, and act. Social media is just another way of communicating for any of us, including our kids. It is literally an extension of their social life. I want to say zero tolerance for social media, but if you're 15, I'm not going to say 13. They say 13, but I think if you're 15 and older, if your parent is going to allow you to have social media and your parent is going to have your password and login information, sure, you can have, because I think as a parent, if you allow your kid to have a phone, that is literally, I have a book right here. I actually went to Jessie Weinberger. She works with the FBI and the National Institute of Missing Children. She wrote this book and it says the boogeyman exists and he is in your child's back pocket. If you give your child a cell phone, you're giving your child and the entire world access to your child. And it's not always good. Yes, our kids are online and we're not doing mostly bad things, but mostly bad things can happen because of how much bad is out there. I highly recommend this book for other people, but it's a sharing, we share thoughts, we share feelings, like what's going on around me in our community. It's a good thing to have if you're using it the right way.
7:30 and we can finish this 7:30.
Okay.
Okay.
So this is really sad, but I do want to tell you guys, since we brought up the topic, that like suicide is the leading cause of death for people from like the age of 11 to 24. And another thing that made me appreciate my religion is the fact that like all of the things that I have seen, and like as an officer, I say, knock on wood, I hope I never regret saying this, but as an officer, I say, send me to any other call but a suicide. They are the absolute worst calls in the world, especially when involving a child, because afterwards I walk away and I go to my next call, I go home or whatever, and that family's life is shattered forever. And I want you to think about how mental health is directly associated with suicide. Like, do people sometimes commit suicide because they're in physical pain? Absolutely, it's happened. Like I've been on calls where people are dying of cancer and they're so sick of dying slow that they try to take their life at an early age, which is very, very sad. But if you don't take your mental health seriously, it can cause you to go in a state of depression. Okay, it is a real thing. And it's so important to talk about this because like in our culture, like personally speaking, like Middle Eastern culture, it's a very taboo thing to talk about. Like how many Middle Eastern or people from your country do you know that go to therapy or that go to counseling? We stigmatize that. We think something is wrong with somebody if they're going to therapy or going to counseling, when in all reality, we should all be going. But I don't want you to stigmatize it. Like if you're feeling sad, it's okay. If you're feeling depressed, like all of my friends are in public safety, like they're all police officers, dispatchers. My best friend is a physician's assistant at the Cleveland Clinic. And like, we say things like, you guys, I need to vent. Who can I call right now? I just had a really bad day. You are human. Bad days are going to happen. And you have to learn how to deal with them now, because in the future, life doesn't get easier. It gets harder continuously. You just do a better job of dealing with it and you build up resiliency. So understand, like when we talk about talking to your parents and communication in general, get used to saying things like, I just had a really bad day and I just need to cry it out, or I need to vent, or I need to speak to somebody about it, because that helps keep you healthy mentally. Okay. And that goes for everybody in the room, kids and adults.
Yeah, I know that sometimes, like when I told my dad, like, oh, Kenneth is depressed, he's like, what is he depressed about? Like, they can have depression at a young age. Of course, he's depressed probably because he got grounded, but like real and true, like diagnosed like depression, anxiety. I mean, my sister found out, she's 28 now, but she definitely grew up with anxiety. As an adult now, she is diagnosed with anxiety. She's diagnosed with ADHD. Like these are things that like we don't talk about as family or really understand as much culturally, but these things do exist. And so if your kid feels like you know your kid, if they look down, they're not going out as much, they don't, they're being out with their friends, fell off of their cool list or whatnot, I would definitely start asking questions. This presentation is pretty long, so that's why we're skimming through some of the slides, but there's like good aspects of social media, but there's also bad aspects to it. So this, like, love sharing ideas. I get to ask my friend what homework was, share Google Docs. Also, may I add, we had such a horrible event take place at my school last year. Horrible, not in a bad way, but like this group of kids went on Google Doc because they're smart and they're like, what can we do at school that's like online, but like it can be still bad. And they were talking so much smack about each other. And then we finally found out like admins, but like these kids are trying to use like education platforms to continue, like, for example, bullying. That's what it was. It was a bullying situation, but there's a lot of good, but there's also like stuff that could happen. Like they start to compare each other. This person looks like this person has that, somebody's talking smack. Like, this is why kids shouldn't have social media when they're young, because let's say your daughter or son posts a picture of them doing something that they think is fun. Well, there are kids out there that be like, what are you doing? You're so lame. And so, so that's how to impact our kids, like emotional stuff or psychological stuff. Like, so, I know.
And can I just say one thing? This is like kind of has to do with social media. Kind of does. Stop wasting your time. Okay. I'm going to tell you this. Me, Bill Gates, the homeless person on the street, every single breathing individual alive on the face of the planet get 24 hours in a day. It doesn't matter who you are. Okay. The only thing that separates me from you, from everybody else, just two things. That's it. Your decision making and how you use those 24 hours in a day. And like, do I go on Instagram and scroll mindlessly for a little bit? Yeah, I do, especially at night when I'm trying to disconnect as I'm watching Prime TV and like eating a snack. That's my way of disconnecting. Okay. But like, I know people that every single time I look at them, they're on their phone, they're posting, they're scrolling. Like our brother here mentioned earlier, I want to tell you guys that like, I take every opportunity that I can to be an ambassador for Islam in our country. I don't want to be, please do not think I'm the model Muslim, because I'm not. I give myself a C- most days, D- other days. But in a country that's not primarily Muslim, I take the opportunity to be like, yes, I'm Ohio's first police sergeant and I'm Muslim, or anything that I can do to forecast like goodness on Islam, because it's considered down, right? The last 3 years, up until I got hired with Case, April of this year. I worked 2 full-time jobs for 3 years. For 3 years, I worked 7 days a week. You want to talk about mental health? Ask them how many times I used to just like, every single Friday, I was like, all right, I'm going to quit. I'm going to quit my state job. And my mom was like, no, don't quit. I love seeing you in the news. I love this. I'm like, no, I'm quitting because I'm depressed. I don't see my family. I don't see my friends, and I'm quitting. And it was every single Friday, especially after the first year. And when I was at Copley, at my other agency, I was on night shift. So I worked night shift from 9 p.m. to 7 a.m. I went home and I slept from 7 to 11. I worked my state job until 6 p.m. And maybe I took a nap before I went into night shift again. It was terrible. But people ask me, like, I don't know if I did it now, because right now I have one job and I'm struggling. So I don't know how I did it. But I was like, wow, subhanAllah, like when you really cut up those 24 hours in a day, you could be accomplishing so much. You are wasting time on your phone that you will never get back. I want you to understand that. And like, I have this conversation with Khaled all the time. Money, you're going to waste money. When I had 2 jobs, I was YOLO every day. If I saw a bag I wanted, I got it. I went to Egypt, Colorado, Arizona twice. Like, I was living large because I knew, I was like, I'm never going to make this much money again. I'm going to do whatever I want to do. Time, you will never, ever, ever get time back, ever. I don't care if you're the richest person alive. I don't care what your last name is. I don't care what you do for a living. And like, understand how precious your time is. And if you're wasting an hour a day, just say an hour, which we all know it's way more. If you're wasting an hour a day on the computer, on Instagram, on social media, just let's say an hour a day, that's 7 hours a week. Okay, 4 times 7, that's how many hours you're wasting a month. And you could be doing so much else. And, you know, when it comes to like police work, I always tell people, like, you're not going to find anybody as passionate as I am about the job. And I meet all these officers, and like, I don't care, like, I tease Shimma about this all the time, because when we do speaking engagements, I do zero prep. You can put me in front of 350 people and be like, talk about this topic, and I'm going to talk about this topic. I don't care if it has to do with trauma or law enforcement or whatever. in those 3 years, I just want to tell you guys, I finished 52 books on audiobook because I work 10-hour shifts. And instead of listening to music all night, which I'm fully capable of doing because I love music, I finished 52 books. And every single book that I finished had to do with something job related, trauma, leadership, communication, whatever. And I'm like, oh my God, I cannot believe that I wasted all of this time listening to music because I love music, you guys. I can listen to, like, I can just listen to music 24/7 if I could. You're wasting time. I want you guys, especially the young people in the room, you have an immense amount of time right now that you could be using to like get educated, build your future, work on your health, work on your relationship with your parents, whatever the case may be. And like anytime I have a bad day or whatever, and I go, like, we're very close as a family, mashallah, and like we're either at her house because that's where all the kids are, or we're at my parents' house. And I just sit there and I'm just like, I am the luckiest person alive. My parents are alive. The kids are alive and well, and I get to eat dinner with my parents 2 or 3 times a week. And when you guys are young, you don't get to appreciate that. You don't see it because you think your parents are going to be around forever, and they're not. That's just the sad truth of the matter. And we always associate death with age, right? Like I used to do that before I came into law enforcement. When in all reality, we know, and we're told in Islam that anybody can die at any time. But look how many times we pick up the phone and we're like, instead of texting someone to say hi, instead of calling your parents to say hi, you're on Instagram, you're on Facebook, you're tagging yourself, you're doing this. And I pride myself on, like, I talk to probably 100 people a week that I just send text to, like, hey, thinking about you, you doing okay? I just check in with so many people every single week because I know that they could be gone tomorrow or I could be gone tomorrow. And I don't want to say like, oh, I meant to text them or I meant to call them, but I got distracted with Instagram. How ridiculous does that sound? So when it comes to social media in general, stop wasting time. You're wasting so much time that you could be using to do other things. Some of you guys are on your phones when it's 5 minutes until the next prayer, because you're not prioritizing your religion and you're not prioritizing your family and you don't prioritize your health. And all you're out to do every single day is get followers. And that is a terrible thing to go after. Those people don't care about you. The people that care about you are your family and your close group of friends that you're still going to have 10, 15 years from now. Time is extremely, extremely, extremely precious. And I'm not going to preach and get too religious about it, but it's also something that you're going to be asked about in the hereafter, is how you spent your time. And I hope to God that you're not saying there like, yeah, God, I was on Instagram for 96 years of my life. Like, we don't want to have that conversation. So please, please, please use your time wisely.
So what can parents do?
This slide pretty much sums it up. And I can't say more than make sure you have open communication between your mom and dad. I know it's so hard. I was there trying to remember, couldn't get old, but I was there too. Like, there's some stuff that happened that I wish I would have done. Mama, like, I did this. I know I shouldn't have done it. Your parents are going to be mad and upset because that's normal. They might yell, freak out, because that's what I do as well. But it's gonna pass, and it's okay to make mistakes as long as you learn from them. I'm not saying go out and make mistakes intentionally, but it's okay to make mistakes as long as you are open about them so that your parents can help you. And parents, again, I urge you to make sure that you check in with your kids on a regular basis. I think consistency is what it is. I had a friend that was like, Shimma, like, my son, he vaped, and at school, it's all over. I know for sure the middle school has it, and for sure the high school has it. They definitely have like smoke detectors and whatnot all over the place, but it's gonna happen. And if it's not at school, it's gonna happen outside in the streets anyway. Like, I have seen kids that unfortunately sometimes trying to leave the mosque, and I'm like, what are you doing? But anyway, have that conversation, because your kids are going to be, if they're going to public school, they're going to, or in the world, they're going to be bombarded with everything and anything. And if you're not having that conversation, I don't want to go into detail because there's a lot of things that can happen, but like, if you're not having that conversation about like, why is vaping not okay? They're getting their information from their kids. Why is having a relationship with the opposite gender not okay or okay? They're going to get their world is going to come from friends around them. So like, have those conversations with them on a regular basis. Like, with my young ones right now, 7 and 8 years old, I'm always like, you know, roses and thorns. Tell me something good that happened to you today. Tell me something that wasn't so good or that made you sad. And then tell me a bud, like something that you're looking forward to. Like if you start it young, then you always have that door open to where like, hey, you're in high school now. Like, what's something that happened that's good today? Or, and like, not like, how's your day? Great. Okay. That's them trying to get away from the actual conversation, but having an open conversation is very, 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 very important. And then being consistent with it. Always, and I have fallen that parent. It's a bad grade. I'm like, oh my God, you're grounded, but then A's and B's, and you're looking at my 1C or my 1D, and some. We tend to look at what they do that's negative and yell at them, but we don't like praise their positive. So like, it's something that I have to get used to, and I think a lot of us have to, that like when we see our kids do something good, we're like, hey, I'm really proud of you. Like that's their self-esteem that you are building, and what comes out of your mouth is how they see themselves. So make sure that they see like, yeah, you're a good kid, or mashallah, thank you so much for doing this. You're so kind, you're so whatnot. Like affirm their personality in a positive way, because society is not going to, and their friends are not going to most of the time. These are just there's a glare, but this is like a lot of really good websites that parents could go on to get like information on like social media and the different platforms on social media. NetSmarts is really, really good for social media for parents. Like you can go on the website and like Google a specific or look at a specific app, and it will give you a lowdown what the app is, how you can control the parental area, how to make sure your kid is safe. Games are on kids usually on one website. I have some information here for you guys, but these are really good. Have on.
And I know we're getting ready for questions. The last thing that I wanted to say for, like I said, everybody in the room is please learn to be a leader and not a follower. Okay, that's something that I've noticed in life and in my job that makes a huge difference. It is so easy to be a follower because you wanna be cool. Like that's what we're talking about, right? Please be a leader. Please have the courage to stand up for other people when they're getting bullied. Please have the courage to stand up for yourself when you're getting bullied or mistreated. Please have the courage when someone says like, hey, do you want to hit this blunt, or do you want to hit this vape, or do you want to drink this alcohol that I snuck into the football game? Please have the courage to be like, that's not cool, I'm good, and walk away. That does not make you not cool. You're not going to lose cool points. The number one thing that I would say besides like social media that ruins people's lives is being a follower. And that's on every level. That's like the young kids and the older people, because I know adults that are followers and I know kids that are followers, and I expect that behavior more from kids than adults. But I'm talking to you guys, young kids, young adults that are in high school, college. Please learn to be a leader. It's very hard, and good leaders stick out because they are far and few. It's very, very easy to do the easy thing. People always want the easy way out. And that's why the majority of people that you meet and encounter and live with, like amongst and work amongst, they're ordinary people. They're ordinary. They're John Doe and Jane Doe. They go to work, they do the 9 to 5, and they go home, and that's it. You don't hear about them. They leave no legacy. They die without, having like solid footprints in the ground. They are not a good leader. I want you guys to work on being good leaders and don't be a follower. Like, it's okay to say no. You're going to have a lot of people approach you with a lot of negative things, a lot of things that are haram, a lot of things that are illegal. And if you don't learn to say no, understand that you are really impacting your future in a negative manner. It is okay to say no. I do it all the time. People don't ask me to do anything illegal, obviously. But like, hey, do you want to come to this party? No, I'm 10 o'clock, I'm inside my house, FaceTime me or something. I'll be with you guys in spirit. It is super okay to say no. People don't ask me to do stuff anymore because they know I'm a party pooper, but it's okay to say no. Just say, no, that's not for me. No, that's against what I believe in. Learn to speak up and stand up for yourself, and also learn to speak up and safely stand up for other people.
And I do just want to add one more thing. It's on here. If you do give your child a smartphone of some kind and you are not going to like physically be on it every single day, checking like their text messages, because so with Khaled, he doesn't know that like every day at 5 o'clock, I'm going to ask for his phone because then he can delete whatever he wants to. I will randomly just go like this and Khaled will put his phone in my hand. And it's not that I don't trust him, but there's just so much bad out there that I was just like, you have to allow me to do that as your parent, because number one, I own your phone, I own you, I gave you life. And so like, I would check his messages, not every single one, but just randomly, I would go on his Snap. He's 16 and 17 and I'm doing this, and check on it. But if you don't do that, there is a really, really, really good app. It's actually a software program that you can buy and install. I know you just gave me that look, like, don't give them ideas. There's a software app, it's called the BARK, B-A-R-K. They actually just came out with a cell phone too. It's a Samsung. It actually looks like a smartphone that monitors every single thing that your kid does on their smartphone. And they cannot delete anything without your permission. Like if they text, you can see all the text messages. If they added somebody on Snap, and I mean, it monitors every single app that they come on. And you as a parent can see every single thing that they do. So it's called BARK, B-A-R-K, if you are looking for something like that can monitor social media and monitor like electronically in general.
We genuinely cannot thank you enough for the wealth of information and the enlightenment and the insight you both have provided us with. Of course, this is again 1 out of 3 sessions, and we encourage everybody to participate. I think I'm loud enough, they can hear me. Okay, so we'll put it short.
Okay.
Yes.
There's 2 questions.
Questions,
Mhm.
go ahead.
Okay, so the first question says, you said not to use pepper spray for self-defense. If pepper spray, what should they do for self-defense and safety if necessary? I have never heard a successful story of like someone using any kind of weapon like pepper spray or like a taser, or handgun is different. I've heard successful stories with that. But like I mentioned in the beginning, your first line of defense and your biggest line of defense is your decision making and awareness. Like in law enforcement, we call it situational awareness of like, I can't tell you, I mean, it just happened today. Like being on a college campus is it's crazy. There's people crossing the street at a major intersection looking at their phone. And I'm just like blowing my horn to keep them from getting smushed by a car. Situational awareness means like you being aware of your surroundings. That's very, very important. You don't have to be a police officer or a cop or a detective to sense when something bad is going to happen. I want you guys to get that idea out of your head. God gave us the 6th sense. You guys know what 6th sense is? Like it's your gut feeling. Like, have you ever talked to someone and you had a gut feeling that things were not going to go well with that person? That is a real thing. There is real science behind your gut feeling. So if you are in a situation, or like I used to be a server at Aladdin's. Common sense would dictate that I'm not going to walk out to the car by myself with $500 cash in my pocket. That is bad decision making. So I tell you guys, and this is just my personal opinion, somebody else can give you another personal opinion, is that when you carry something like a taser or pepper spray, you have to remember that action is always faster than reaction. Nobody's going to be like, I'm going to rob you. Please get your pepper spray out or your taser out. That's not going to happen. They are experienced in their line of crime and the stuff that they do. Just like I'm good at my job and just like you guys are good at your jobs. This is what they do for a living. So it doesn't make any sense at all. God forbid, we're just going to take violent. Like when I used to run long distance, I carried pepper spray, but I carried pepper spray for like the dogs and the groundhogs and all the other stuff that came out when I was running. I never carried that stuff with the intention of protecting me from another person. I don't want to talk about carrying a weapon like a handgun or something like that, because that's a conversation for another day. But I just don't recommend that stuff, because if you are not proficient with those items, whether you're carrying a taser, pepper spray, or a handgun, you can get disarmed and it will be used against you, which is what usually happens. So just remember situational awareness, like being aware of your surroundings, as well as making good decisions, like making safe decisions.
and I teach self-defense to fifth grade girls at my new building, and the number one thing I teach them is awareness of everything and everyone around. Always, wherever you go, I know it probably is if you're younger, but your face should not be in your phone. It should be scanning people around you. If you see the same individual 2 and 3 times in the store, their cart is not this. Wallahi, this happened to me in the streets row Giant Eagle. I was literally being followed by a maybe 30-year-old male. And he was in every aisle that I was in, and he had nothing in his hand. He would just stand and pick something up and look at it. But I saw, because she tells me horror stories, I am always aware of every single individual around me wherever I go. And when I went to check out, I was like, oh, he's checking out at the same time. What a coincidence. And he has 1 candy bar. And then I saw him leave and I was like, okay, maybe I'm just being extra and there's nothing wrong. And then when I went, you know how Giant Eagle has 2 entrances and there's like chips and drinks right here? He was standing by the chips and drinks. And so when I saw him, I was like, okay, he went out one door, I went out the other. And when I saw him get in his car and look where I was going, I went right back into Giant Eagle and I called 911. I mean, human trafficking, child kidnapping, child trafficking, it's all, I'm lucky this happened to me. So like, don't keep your face in your phone or not being aware. That is the number one defense for you in anywhere you go. If you use pepper spray, that stuff is going to also hit you as well. So like, it's not going to, and again, if they knock it off your hand, what are you going to do? So just make sure you're aware of your environment. And if your gut tells you, you need to like, let's say my parents never allowed me to go to a dance. If your parents aren't cool with that, and you went to a school dance with a group of girls, a group of boys, and a group of kids were like, hey, let's go do this. And your gut feeling was like, oh, this is a bad idea. You need to listen to that gut feeling. Those two are like something on your physical person that will help you stay safe.
Also, like, I'm sorry, when you guys are at like restaurants, and I'm talking, like I said, to the kids and adults, when you guys are, because my dad's notorious for this. Anytime you're in public, do not look at your phone. You have no reason to look at your phone. It is not that important. It can wait. Don't look at your phone because somebody could literally be walking in with a rifle, a hammer, a baseball bat, and you have absolutely no idea what's going on around you. And I know this because I study these things, but like active shooter things that happen in like, not necessarily schools, but like religious institutions, business, usually the male assailant walks in. Nobody knows for the first 5 minutes that someone walked in with a gun because everybody's looking at their phone. It's preventable. Do not look at your phone when you're in public. Don't do it. Take your face out of your phone and be very cognizant and vigilant of your surroundings.
Shimma, an important question came in the chat. It says, if my parents ignore me when I ask for therapy, how can I get their attention?
Oh,
So I have some advice for
breaks my heart because it's not taboo, like mental health. So that's like you ignoring your child because like, mama, my stomach hurts, mama, my stomach hurts, or mama, I have a fever, mama, I have a fever. Mental health is truly important. And I know that like some parents either belittle those feelings in kids, but like I said, it exists. Anxiety exists. Sometimes like maybe you just want a safe adult to talk to. As a kid, if you go seek mental health, maybe as a parent, you're afraid of what your kid is going to say. But honestly, if you have nothing to hide as a family, like, I don't know, you murdered somebody in their basement, you really shouldn't have a problem with your kid talking to a stranger. I have kids at school that are not Arabic or Muslim, and their parents are like, don't talk to the school counselor. She's going to get you taken away. No, I don't. I don't care. I just want to make sure that your kid has someone to vent to. I would highly encourage that they maybe have like a good conversation like, mama, like, I have been feeling this way. I don't want to add on to your stress. I just want to talk to somebody that like a therapist so that I can talk freely and maybe they can find a way to merge conversations between parents and kids. Because sometimes kids just, they don't want to disappoint us. They don't want to scare us. They don't want to make us mad or sad, but they have stuff on their mind. And I'm telling you, if your parent is out there, would you rather talk to a professional therapist, or would you like your child to go talk to friends who are as immature as them and give them information that they don't need to have?
Also, if you are a juvenile or a minor and you're under the age of 18, you utilize your counselors in your school. And they like schools have a lot of resources that they can hook you up with while you're in school. If you're an adult, then you should seek counseling on your own. And there's a lot of things that you can go through for insurance, and there's a lot of things that don't require insurance and you can do in person or virtually. So I'm sorry that you're going through that, but hopefully we can find a solution for you. Okay, I'm just gonna answer this one really quickly. If I feel like I'm being followed, is it okay for me to call the police just to be on the phone with them, even if it's not a definite emergency? Yes. The only time you're gonna get in trouble for calling 911 is if you're pranking. But if you ever feel like your safety is threatened, call 911, okay? I want to tell you guys how privileged we are to be able to call 911 and actually have the police respond, because that's not how things are. When I was in Arizona, I called 911 and I was on hold for 29 minutes. And I just told my family yesterday, this is how busy Cleveland is. We had a young woman that was in the middle of a miscarriage. We waited for 25 minutes for an ambulance, and the ambulance did not come. So guess what we did? We put her in a cruiser and we ran lights and sirens to the hospital, and we ended up saving the baby's life. Call 911. You're not bothering us. You're not bothering the police department. If it's a non-emergency line, if it's a non-emergency call, all they have to do is hit a button and they're going to switch you to the non-emergency phone. Do not ever, ever, ever hesitate to call 911 if you feel like your safety is threatened. Okay, someone said this course is horrible and you should get off of it. Thank you so much for your advice. Whenever I tell my parents about my feelings, they get
Let me see. You said
what?
that?
Yeah, they said
That's
this
okay.
course is terrible. Not this course. It's an app.
Oh, this?
Yeah.
I'm like, what?
Not
Wait a
this.
minute, that doesn't sound like I'm
Discourse.
Yes, it's an app.
Oh, listen to me.
No.
It was, it's an online.
Can
app for
I ask a question?
Yeah.
Let me have the microphone. Hey, kids, can you raise below the age of 18? If you're younger than 18, can you raise your hand? Okay, now, let me ask you this. Did you hear what Sergeant Sarah just said about wasting time on your? Okay, comment? Yeah, so raise your hand, raise your hand. You know, so I would like submit kids to listen to that advice, because I'm wasting more time than you think you are. And it's all like looking at seeing off the walls. I'm like, that is a waste of time, that's for sure. And they think it's funny, and they spend half an hour. Not to talk about anybody else's kids, but I let you guys listen to Sergeant Sarah and her advice.
Thank you so much. job on your assignment. You did really awesome. Find something that they're doing well and compliment them, because we, especially our culture, like I always joke around about this all the time. Like the very first time my parents told me that they were proud of me, literally, like I am proud of you, is when I got last year. I know my parents were proud and I know they love me, but like that's the very first time my dad was like, Sada, I'm so proud of you. And I was like, oh my God, like my dad just said he was proud of me because I made international news. But like find something that your kids do well and compliment them. And please, let's get out of the habit of like every time we see our kids, we're just like, just everything wrong. Why does your hair look like this? Why are you wearing sweatpants in public? Why are you wearing Crocs in public? I mean, I can go on because the person that I'm talking about is me with my nephew. Compliment your kids. Find something that they do well. And I know that they do a lot of things well, and compliment them. And like we always say, like in police work and counseling, that you're not there as a parent to be your kid's best friend, but you are. I don't want you to be your kid's best friend and like enable their bad behavior, but I want you to be their best friend in terms of when something good or bad happens, I want you to be like the first person that they call. So yeah, there's like a lot of other questions, and I'm sorry, like we're not probably going to be able to get to all of them. Okay, the other important one that says, whenever I tell my parents my feelings, they get mad, and how can I have a conversation with them when they're like emotionally charged? Listen, you guys, this is just, we're from two different worlds, and that's how my parents were. Like I went through the hiring process with the FBI in 2019, and I had to ask my parents all these questions because I didn't know, and I don't want them to think I was lying. Like, what do you mean you don't know where I was born? I don't know where I was born. It's in Saudi Arabia. And they're like, we're in Saudi Arabia. I was like, I don't know. Maybe. I don't know. And my mom's like, oh, you were born in a bedroom. I was like, I was in a bed and I almost died. Like, why would you not tell me this? Like, that's something that I would have been bragging about my whole life. But like, understand, kids, especially kids, that like we are two different generations from our parents. Okay, they love differently, they communicate differently, and it's okay to help them out of that. Okay, like my dad to this day, he's 72. Like every time he sees me, he's like this, like, I'm not your bro, I'm your daughter, you better hug me with both hands. So I always bear hug him because my dad's like, you know, and like Shimma will tell you, like, my dad never talks to me. Like, I'm 30 years old. I'm not married. My dad has never said a word to me about that. But guess who hears about it? Every day. Every day she hears about how I'm not married, how I don't have kids, how my parents are worried about me, all this other stuff. Our parents want the best for us, but understand we just come from two different worlds, and that's okay. It doesn't mean they don't love you. It doesn't mean that they don't want to communicate with you. It just means that they do things differently. So just, it's okay for us to do things differently. Just find a common grounds to operate on. And just go ahead.
Like she said, that her parents get angry or they're angry. Like I would not pick a time when my mom is stressed out, because moms are super stressed out. If you're a mom and you work, that's like 2 full-time jobs. If you're a mom and you're at home, that's like a huge full-time job that I refuse to have on it personally. That's why I leave for 8 hours and work at school with other people's kids. But just don't talk to.
Yes, like pick a time.
Just make sure that it's like your mom or your dad are calm. They didn't just get in a, like the parents get in an argument and you're sitting here like, Mama, I feel like are listening to me. Just pick the right time. But like as a parent, I just really don't see me getting upset if my kid comes to me with those feelings, because again, I'm gonna let you know, if you are not there for them, their friends are going to be there for them, and they will listen and they will give them the wrong advice.
Yeah. Or something else that like I do with my friends is like, before I start verbal vomit and just like talking a million miles an hour, I say like, hey, let me know when you have 5 minutes because I have to talk to you about something. That way, my friends who are also in public safety or emergency medicine are not in trauma themselves when I call them with my own stuff. So maybe just tell your parents like, hey, mom, hey, dad, when you have a minute, please let me know because I have something that I need to talk to you about. Because like I told you guys, as kids, you're worried about one thing, like yourself, your future, you're worried about you. Your parents are worried about everything. And it's very easy to get stressed out and overwhelmed. So like finding the right time to talk to your parents is key. So just communicate, just work on your
And
communication.
make sure when you do have a conversation with your kid, because I have been guilty of that, even with my 7-year-old that wants to tell me something. I'm on my phone doing something. It's not something, usually I'm not scrolling TikTok because I am on that. And I promise you, if anybody in here has TikTok with your kids, if you actually open their TikTok account, and scroll through the first like 15, 20 videos, whatever you see on their is what your son or daughter is usually watching. So if you see anything inappropriate, that means they're watching it.